BenFlyingRetro, and I'm embarking on a quest to purchase every classic GI Joe comic from the original 80s and 90s Marvel run.
Warning.
Hunting down individual issues from every corner of the globe in whatever order the universe decides to give me. Join me and my pal Steve every week as we discuss my latest find. Welcome to Chasing Joe. Chasing Joe. Whoa! That's right! I've hijacked GI Joburg. Thanks for having me, S-Jubs. You've got yourself a new show.
And it's a welcome one too, Ben. Gee whiz, I'm always dying for an opportunity to talk about classic GI Joe comic books. And you are bringing a new slant on this whole escapade.
Yeah, I'm certainly bringing a new slant. Now, I can tell everyone that we've spent the entire budget for this show on that intro that you just saw. Wow. Now, I want to give a big shout out. If you like synthwave and you like that opening track, that is by a good buddy of mine from the Ukraine, Are We Lone? Now, in the show notes, I think you've put a link. Go check him out. There's about 100 individual sound elements in that intro. Some real Easter eggs for you guys.
Well, Ben, come on, leave a few breadcrumbs. Like what can they expect if they really deconstruct it? 100, you say?
Yeah,
how
100. We'll go
16-second video.
Go through it frame by frame. I mean, I am an editor by trade, and I do tell myself if I could go back in time, I think I'd be a Foley artist. You know the dude, like Ben Burr from Star Wars. He's got his mic wand, and he's like
hitting a fence.
Inventing, yeah. That's what I want to do. Too old for that now.
Never too old, Ben. Never too old. But tell me, you have this crazy notion that you want to collect all 155 of the original floppies from the GI Joe A Real American Hero run.
Well, you say 155. You say 155, and my good buddy Chief tells me 187. If we're including special missions, we're including yearbooks.
Tales of G.I. Joe, European missions.
How do you get to 187? He did. So actually, it's 187 total issues from 1982 to 1994. I thought I was done with G.I. Joe, but G.I. Joe wasn't done with me.
What brought this on, Ben? Why? What?
Okay, so a bit of setup. Me and my good buddy Chief started talking Joe way back when, and I think one of the issues I ran into whilst doing that was a little bit of imposter syndrome. When we created that, I didn't have any concept of the wider community, or even if there was a community for G.I. Joe. And when we started getting into the weeds of it, I all of a sudden sort of found myself like, do I know enough about comics? Do I know enough about this IP? And the good news is now I've thrown those shackles off. And it turns out, compared to like Jimmy on the street, my G.I. Joe knowledge, it would scare the life out of him. He'd put me in prison. So it's like I've made peace with my take on G.I. Joe, and I sort of feel like I have unfinished business with this comic book. And what does a man do if he wakes up one morning and he wants to read Marvel ARA? Well, I didn't have any options. So I was like, okay, here are my options. I can buy trades. Now, how do you feel about reading trades?
Look, they are convenient. That's going for them.
So that's what I did with Talking Joe. So it was very clear at the time I couldn't afford to buy the entire run. And I was like, I can't buy issue like 1, 2, 3 every single week. That's just not gonna work. So I think I bought a combination of Marvel trades and IDW trades. I don't even know if Marvel finished all of the trades.
They did the first 5.
Yeah, maybe they did the first 5. Okay, so I did that. But my couple of issues with trades that I have, when you're reading them, what happens if you've got a lovely splash page with a rattler on it or something, and you can't really open it all the way, and you could be missing rivets of the rattler's fuselage.
Well, clearly you need to crack the spine and just make a mini poster out of your trade paperback.
Exactly. And I don't know, look, they're highly, highly convenient, but now that I actually collect comic books on the weekly, I'm just in love with floppies. That's my medium. Like digital I was never going to entertain doing it digitally. I don't even know what options are there for ARA. I'm guessing.
Well, Skybound's got you back now.
Yeah.
With that massive anthology collection.
So before that, it would have been scans, I guess, from fans and stuff like that. So yeah, good that you mentioned Skybound. So that brings on to another option. And I was like, okay, so Skybound, the rights have bounced to those guys. They are going to, release compendiums and all of that jazz. Compendiums, great for the bookshelf. They look fantastic. Way too big, too heavy to read. I'm just not really into it. And then they've also done the Kickstarter, which is like super successful, and that's even bigger, isn't it? What's that? They're like hardback.
Massive.
How many issues? What is there? 2 for the whole run?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a weighty piece, and I don't know how practical it is to be reading that.
Well, good for the gym. Just do bicep
on your
curls.
lap. Yeah, well, that too. But I mean, you're going to struggle with your circulation if you've got that in your lap.
Yeah.
Be doing calf raises.
So those are your options. Now, I always thought the best option is I'll just collect the original run. And I just and ahed for so long about, I really want these books in my life. Now, when I was younger, I was born in 1981. I was actually privileged enough that I caught the tail end of this run month to month in my local comic shop. So from issue,
you had a pull list.
No, I didn't even know what a pull list was. I just went there when it was out and bought it. So I started on issue, I would say maybe 120. And this is so strange. I stopped at like issue 150. I don't know why. I had no idea that they were wrapping it up or anything like that.
Have you ever read issue 155 then?
Yeah, I did. I read it on a Talking Joe like anniversary or something like that.
If memory serves, I do think I heard you and Chief jaw about it, and there was the criticism that like when it goes into cursive writing, because they are writing letters back and forth, that it's hard to read. I'd never thought of that before, but you're damn right. I mean, with our failing eyes, we're not 10-year-olds anymore.
So I don't know what happened to my original floppies. I have no idea. They've gone somewhere.
I know what happened to my original floppies. They're at my parents' place, and Cape Town was raked by some pretty severe storms. Leak through the roof, into the wall, into the cupboard that they resided in, and they're pretty severely water damaged. Fortunately, Rob from GI Joburg dried them out, spaced them out. He was house sitting for my parents at the time, and they're readable. They're somewhat swollen, but they're still readable.
Wow. Yeah. So yes, and then I've somewhere in my loft, I've got maybe the first, 5 or 6 trades that I bought when I was doing Talking Joe. I can't even find those.
I want to know the comparison between the trades and the old floppies, because for me, you just can't beat the smell of 40-year-old paper, the way the colors look, particularly on that newsprint, is not replicated accurately onto like glossy, modern, pure white paper. Like there's a kind of a fade that happens. Like those colors are almost too ramped up in a modern trade. Would you agree?
The best way I can describe when you're collecting a Bronze Age or Silver Age comic book. So I first did this with Chief made me collect this Nightwing run from the 90s. Chuck Dixon. I know you got issues with Nightwing. I messaged you. I was like, "Oh, I'm reading this." And you were like, "Why would you want to be? Why are you interested in Batman's gimp or something like what? When you can just have the steak being Batman. Why do you want the sausage?" And I was like, Bloodhaven is where it's at. Anyway.
Clearly,
so
I need some Chuck Dixon Nightwing in my life.
So I got a little taste of what it's like to not only be collecting contemporary comics, but also have a kind of side hustle of like, I'm just buying these issues of Nightwing in order. I found it thrilling. And what I loved the most was each issue is a time capsule of that month, that year. And I don't know. It's not just about the story. I'm talking about the ads. I'm talking about the letters pages, the context of the time that they were being sent in. I find it very sort of comforting and relaxing just to spend, 15 minutes or something, almost like time traveling, going back. So Nightwing made me start thinking, okay, I've collected 80 books of Nightwing, finished that run. I was like, well, GI Joe's only 155. Maybe, maybe I should, maybe I should look into it. So I thought of an idea. I thought, okay, I'm just going to not sort of focus on collecting and reading them in order. I'm just going to see what I can find. And if I think it's a good enough deal, I'll just get that issue, read it, move on to the next one. And I thought, well, maybe that, like, this is a quest, this is a journey. Maybe other people might want to go on that journey with me. And then I thought of you, and look, we got ourselves another ARA based show.
That's some quirky, maybe dumb charm. The fact that it's out of sequence really appeals to me because unlike your story, Ben, where you say that month to month you were reading them in sequence, my GI Joe comic book regimen was dosed to me like by complete happenstance. Like whatever I found at the corner cafe, an odd scrappy copy from 1988, if that surfaced, I'd buy that. As long as it said GI Joe, I was in. And I pieced together my collection very scattershot, getting these little snapshots, one issue at a time, of like what was happening in this story arc and what was happening in the later story arc and what was happening there. So I basically was creating this almost pinboard of like events to kind of figure out what the story of the GI Joe comic book was. But before I knew it, I went into a newsagent and there was 155 and it said, "This is it, the final issue of GI Joe." And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I just got into my straps and now it's over?
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I must have been at high school, 1994. I would have been 13. I'm just interested to know why I stopped going to Floppy Tongue, which was my local comic book shop, and picking up GI Joe. And do you know what? It could have honestly been something as simple as the lift that I got to go there every month. I don't know. I'd fallen out with that friend or something like that, and I couldn't go there because I never went with my mum. It would always be someone else that was going, or it could be literally something as simple as that.
That tracks. Yeah. It was an arbitrary time, childhood.
Yeah. Well, look,
this
here we are.
Friends with this guy. This week you're not.
Hey, do you think I've just looked at myself in the camera? Do you think I've like dressed as a zebra to make you feel, I don't know, at home or at ease? Safari?
Absolutely. We've got wild zebra just milling about on the field behind my house. Hey, Africa, it's a jungle out there. Look, man, I'm in Australia at the moment, so you needed to actually be a roo to be...
Dude, I lived in Australia for a couple of years. Can I tell you my favorite native animal.
Oof. Did you encounter it during the Battle of Brisbane?
I didn't. I know I encountered it somewhere near Melbourne. The wombat.
Oh yeah,
they're so cute, but they're like built of steel. They're like, honestly, you don't want to hit one of those in your car, dude. Right off.
They've got an armored plate.
Yeah.
On their backside. Whack. What are we talking about, Ben? I drifted somewhat. But let's put the listeners and viewers out of their misery. What issue was the very first one to pop into your mailbox?
Look, so this is it. I was like, where should I start my journey? And I thought, okay, I got eBay. That was my first. I was like, I'm going to go onto eBay. And this is right here. This is the first one that's flopped through the door. Now we're going to open her up.
Is this happening live now?
Yeah, this is happening live. I'm opening it.
Wow.
Well, this is like Blue. Do you know what Blue Peter is?
There's a pub in Cape Town called Blue Peter.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like a show. It's kind of like here's one I made earlier. So this is here we go. What have we got ourselves here? We have got issue 63, September 1987. Wow. There we go. Straight off
by design that we're recording this in September of 2024.
Oh, geez. Didn't even think of that. Yeah. Now, when I'm buying like old comics, what do you think? What's the first thing you think I do?
Give it a sniff.
Yeah, I get the snout in.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God. Do you know what? It's like World War II bandages. Do you know what I mean? It's like the sulfur.
Musty.
What's that? Egg? I don't know.
Oh, you don't want to smell like egg, man. But old paper. When you take something down off the shelf of your grandparents' place.
City Center Comics. Now, look, do you want to talk a little bit about rituals? I don't know. Do you collect comics?
Nope. But if you are seeing my background, I certainly am a collector of some things. Plastic now look, primarily.
Dude, if I'm buying Bronze Age comic, look, that's yellow. Look, get rid of that. Now, here's one I made earlier. Fresh. Yes. So that's a fresh whiteboard. Now, I know I've heard the rumors about you. I know what's going on with you. You are not, look at that. I have elevated that book, S-Jubs. Elevation. I'll get some Scotch tape on there later. That's a fresh board.
Slightly less easy to read, my friend, because you don't just pull it off the shelf and flip it open.
No,
you've got to go to the process of taking it out of the bag, which for the purist like me was never a part of the comic book journey. It's like it's got to be a loose rag. That cover has to be hanging on by thread.
Chief has worked in a comic shop recently. Worked there for a year. I think he told me this. There was a dude that used to rock up and get his comics. He would just get it, roll it up, and stick it in his back pocket like he was Marty McFly in the 80s, and just walk out of there with Spidey in his back jean pocket. I mean, I respect that, but look, dude, these are old books. I want to be taking care of these now.
It does look like it's in pretty good shape. I mean, that's a nice...
Dude, in terms of
those corners are not boxed at all.
I'm not like you. I'm not like you're like X-Men Savage Land. You're like Sauron. You know that big pterodactyl thing? That's you. You're a savage. You're a savage. But I'm kind of, look, I'm not going to buy something on the eBay pictures that looks really, really bad. But on the flip side, I'm not kind of, I just want the comics.
Mm-hmm. So not after a high grade for resale purposes.
I tell you what, you're not getting that though in the trade.
No.
Look at that. That's the wedding of the year. Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson tie the knot. Jeez. So look, the format of this show, we we're not going to like completely go into the weeds of the actual issue, but what does this mean anything to you just looking at that cover? Does it hit you with anything?
Well, as a later
and also
fan
it doesn't
of
have to.
No, this one is probably one of the most iconic covers there is. I almost thought that you selected this as our first issue based purely on the cover. It is a Mike Zeck and Bob McLeod classic, with Snake Eyes and Scarlet in their battle togs moving through a minefield. Now, if that doesn't strike you as one of the top 10 covers of the G.I. Joe era run, well,
so you're saying top 10.
Your brain's wired differently to mine, because honestly, this is one of the most memorable covers there is. For sure. Yeah,
Wow. So, look, we all know who this is written by, Larry Hama. On pencils, we've got Ron Wagner on pencils. So it's got beautiful art in this issue. Now, the pages, I would say that these ones are starting to cream up. They're kind of like smoker's white, you know?
Yeah.
People are obsessed with white pages, but I would say this is pretty good.
I swear they were like that back in the day. I don't think it's been a yellowing with time.
I don't know. The thing is, you just don't. What's amazing is you don't know what journey that this book has been on. But I tell you what, it's found itself a good home now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It certainly isn't. It's not going to be on eBay ever again. It's home, S-Jubs.
I don't know. Eventually, we're going to croak. And then our kids will be like, I wonder if this tat is worth anything.
Dude, don't even think it. I'm Peter Pan. I'm gonna live forever, S-Jubs. Don't know if you knew that.
Gosh, you and Chief both. No, he's gonna cryo freeze himself if memory serves.
People are probably freaking out that Chief isn't here, because if you see me on the internet, usually you'd see a Chief next to me. But I think maybe the two of us together, we're both big Sega Bass fishes. Maybe, I think when we do a podcast, it's like podcast jujitsu. You know, someone taps. I tapped on Talking Joe. I was like, I can't do it anymore. And he tapped on Out of Timers. But
mate, Chief has done his time in the trenches of G.I. Joe comic books. If he ever brings himself to read another one, it might be too soon. If you are jonesing for more Chief on G.I. Joe, look no further than the back catalog of the Talking Joe podcast.
Absolutely.
Find all the Chief you could handle and then some.
But just so when this came through the door, this is the first one I got, I knew instantly, I was like, I have made the best decision of my life. Floppies is the way to go. The cover, everything, the universe, I was like, what have I been doing? Like talking about getting trades or compendiums. This is not the only way. This is the best way to consume this run. Look at it. It's so exciting. Now, I read it. I've taken some notes. I'm just going to quick fire these out. This is what I got from this issue. Now, I don't think I didn't cover this issue on Talking Joe, and I don't even know if I've ever read this issue before. But what I wrote down, I've got Barovian Gulag, Raptor, National Medal for Long Distance Rifling, Quick Kick Tops Off Ripped, my Toys on Pages, Hawk Funny Phone Call, and Bill's Letter. Now, did you align with anything that I've written down there?
Everything and then some. I mean, we definitely did read the same issue.
Yeah.
Glad that's out of the way.
Oh, wait a minute. I need to know how you read it.
Oh, gosh. Well, I am somewhat removed from my comic book collection. In fact, I'm not entirely sure I have this in floppy form back home. But I do, very fortunately, have a scan of the original Floppies pages.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I've got that beautiful yellowed paper on my laptop screen.
Okay. There we
Don't
go.
have the
Now-
ads though, but I do have Postbox the Pit, and that is a hoot. We're definitely going to reach into the Postbox on a few occasions.
Yeah.
Some of the most
So-
memorable parts of a comic book read for me growing up was diving into the letters column and seeing just the discourse around the book at the time between
Yeah.
Joe Average out there reading it and the creatives on the book. Sometimes Larry would even jump into the letters page. So just a good time was had.
So going forward on this show, you need to guess how much, and we're gonna keep a running
Lord.
tally. Guess how much I paid for this book. So I sourced it from eBay. Now we're not going to include postage and packaging because I just feel like over the course of all the issues, it's going to give a kind of unfair cost of the run, you know, and also it'll break my heart. If I include postage and packaging, it's going to be like, oh my God. So what do you think I paid?
I don't even buy comics anymore. Oh my goodness.
Pounds as well. Pounds sterling.
I'm going to say 15 quid.
Whoa! You have gone high.
Oh,
That is
okay.
Well, look. Oh, I tell you
I
what.
was
you're
worried
saying-
that I was going low. This
No,
is, of course, a 40-year-old book, almost going on.
Yeah,
40-year-old.
and also you're saying it's top 10 cover, so maybe £15 was fair, but I paid £3.95.
Winning.
Yeah, winning. Well, you're right. I thought I was winning, and I was like, this 155 or 187 run is going to be a breeze. And then I started delving deeper, and I was like looking at other issues. I was like, hang on a minute. What the heck is going on with this limited print run of like the last 20 issues? Wow, that's going to be birthdays and Christmases because they are hot potatoes.
And the irony is, the
And I
books
had 'em.
themselves are pretty weak.
Yeah, and I had them all. I had them. So the running look, and also I want to specify, I'm not buying like huge runs. This process has to be organic. So if the universe presents me with something, great, but I'm not buying like 15 books. Maybe I'll buy like 4 or something like that. But mainly it's going to be individual issues or very, very small kind of runs. Because I don't know, it just felt a bit soulless and a bit boring just doing it in one hit. I kind of want to earn it and
stretch it out.
You can't really
We've got
have
a weekly podcast to record.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we're starting off with £3.95, and that figure is going to go up. So, yeah, what I reflected on when I was reading this was not enough people talking about the humor in these books. Like, I laughed a lot reading this. How can you... I don't know, let's bring up the image of Raptor. Now, is he in San Francisco there? Look, it's just incredible. You got to look at the feet, S-Jubs.
The feet tell the tale.
Well, there's kind of a casuality about how he's on that phone and he's just sort of leaning there. He's very comfortable with himself. Just like I'm very comfortable.
On the streets of San Francisco, where 2 men walk past, positioned very close to one another, and the one says, "Check out that outfit. It's not polite to stare."
Yeah,
you're going to miss that subtext as a 10-year-old child, but now...
Having the second bubble saying it's not polite to stare is so great.
Having the hanky in the back right pocket. I don't know if you know what that means.
I don't, dude.
You don't. In a relationship where one pitches and the other catches, the back right pocket means catching.
Wow.
There you go. Now you know. The 80s in San Fran. It was a wild time.
It certainly was. I think it's a pretty wild time there now as well. Jeez. That city is in it right now.
And
for sure.
the woman in the foreground, pretty definitely a working girl.
Yeah.
I mean, dressed like that in broad daylight. Mm-hmm.
I bet the artist, Wagner, like real world locations is fun.
Yeah.
Like drawing San Francisco. There's
Real
color
people,
there.
real street culture.
Yeah. It features quite a few times in this issue. I mean, look, that figure was zany as heck. And I got him for Christmas, but I loved him. I mean,
what did you do with him, Ben? Did you make him balance your books? I mean, or was he some kind of He-Man villain?
Well, no, one of the things I wrote down when I was reading this was toys on pages, like seeing my toys on the pages. Don't forget, this is just a big advert, essentially. So it's no good having Raptor. Like
it comes and goes, though, Ben. I mean, this issue, I was surprised at how little actually happens in terms of like a GI Joe toy action. It's quite, there's an element of The Great Escape or any other kind of World War II like prison camp movie. Sort of Barovian gulag. There's all this kind of like mystery around Snake Eyes and Scarlet walking into a minefield with this blind guy and then vaporizing. Like, not any action, just all suspense and plot building.
But when I say toys on pages, what I mean is the fact that Quick Kick tops off whatever setting he's in. It's no good having him in a big coat with trousers. Like, he has to look like the toy that you're going to go out and buy because you've seen him in this book. And I just love that. I absolutely love, like, Stalker, how they're just in their fatigues, whatever the setting. He's just there looking like his toy version. And Quick Kick is absolutely ripped. I think I've mentioned this before, but torso sculpt, he's got to be up there. I mean, how many figs even have tops off? Like Road Pig, Quick Kick.
You've got the option with Zartan to take his front arm off.
But
He looks a little bit doughy under there, I've got to be honest.
Quick Kick's, he's so ripped. He's got like these rib sculpting. He's one of my favorite figs and always was one of my favorite figs. I kind of always favored playing with him because I felt like from a martial arts...
He didn't look like a Green Army man?
No, but from a ninja martial arts point of view, I always felt like Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes had so much like baggage with their Arashikage kind of thing, and even when I was playing with them, that was always kind of how they were like serious, where I felt like Quick Kick was just there was no sort of tragedy in his story, You could be more playful with him. He was like more fun. He's like, he doesn't need a gi, he's just got tops off. And he's
I always thought there was something quite superheroic about his presentation. Someone who's coded as a ninja, maybe not as much of a hero. Like Storm Shadow was a certain aesthetic, and Snake Eyes was a certain aesthetic, but like Quick Kick was definitely a protagonist kind of character.
Yes.
Like a traveling warrior, vagabond, like a Ryu kind of character from Street Fighter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And also
you could get behind that.
There's no way that he is just eating in the mess with like Roadblock and Beachhead. He's like egg whites in the morning and a tin of tuna at lunch to maintain that kind of body fat percentage. It's absolutely ridiculous. In fact, my goal right now, I'm big into the gym at the moment, and I want the body of Quick Kick.
Do you have a Quick Kick action figure to hand, Ben?
I do have one, and it's not to hand. It's upstairs. And he is my one from my childhood, and he is
excellent.
Torn all to hell, man. His feet of all the paint's gone. He got played with. My goodness.
He got the foot rot.
But you know what I mean about his torso sculpt. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It always was a bit of a tease for customizers. I mean, it's not actually a naked sculpt. You couldn't use that sculpt, that torso sculpt, for an action figure because you always have the sash with the throwing stars.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of part and parcel. So even though it was perhaps the best crack at a naked torso we had in the ARR run, the O-ring run, you couldn't apply it to any other figure but Quick Kick. It was absolutely his sculpt. Owned it.
I'm just flicking through the book, and there is just something so funny about Hawk on the phone at the end with his hand over the receiver, like he's in a suburban house, like talking to the neighbor with like some gossip. It's almost like he's telling a knock joke. He's like, psst, psst, it's Flint in Grenada. He says that Snake Eyes and Scarlet went for a walk through a field with a blind man and stepped on a landmine. It's just like, right, okay. Flint's saying a lot. Yeah.
I really like the exchange between Tommy and Flint. He's like, may I speak to this person?
Yeah, I tell you what,
very dismissive of Flint. I like the fact that like the Joes and Storm Shadow, they don't know each other personally. Like,
yeah,
in later continuities, everyone seems to know everyone, and this this is the first time Flint and Storm Shadow have shared a telephone conversation with one another, and I love it, seeing these interactions for the first time. And further to that, Flint does not come off very well in these issues.
No,
everything, like he's always set up to be a douchebag.
I know, but and he's not. And to me,
Flint, is that a betrayal, Ben?
Flint was my guy. There was something very like UK about Flint.
Sure.
The fact that did he kind of like head up Action Force?
He was definitely painted as the leader of Action Force. I think the comic book really hit its stride in the intervening period, like when the 1985 line was big. So Duke was kind of on his way out. Hawk's second version hadn't really hit pegs yet. Flint was the man.
Yeah. Yeah, there was something about, I don't know if it was just because it was my collection, but there were certain toys that I had that felt very like British. Like I would always play Beachhead to me. Something about that kind of British racing green balaclava just made me, he looked very SAS-like.
I was about to say.
I think like characters like Barbecue, Airtight, and even toy sets like the rig. What's the rig called? You used it in one of your play motions.
Portable tactical battle platform.
Yeah, which you bought from Bournemouth, where I live.
It was, yeah.
You met some dude at Bournemouth train station
in the dead of night.
It just blows my mind that you've been to my hometown. Because we've never met.
20 quid for it, and it came with barbecue and Footloose and a random call. And yes, Ben, I only wish I knew back then, because man, we would have hit a local pub and talked Joe till the sun came up. I don't know. Am I fooling
something
myself?
about that playset though just feels British to me, like the North Sea, some kind of rig. Maybe the colors used, but anyway, yeah, Flint. I was sort of more a Flint guy than a Duke guy, and
it is a fantastic toy.
I was never a Hawk guy. Are there Hawk guys? I don't know. There may be.
I was a Hawk guy.
You were a Hawk guy.
You need the top dog. I mean, by the time I came into Joe, he was well established in his V2 colors, and he was large and in charge, and I never saw the figure available locally. I needed someone to bark the orders, and Hawk was, no one in GI Joe was higher than him. But yes, Flint was one fantastic figure.
My Flint...
So he does rock that beret a little bit too high.
That's in good nick, though. Yeah, so next time I'll try and get some of my figs out that are in these issues. And I mean, like, what does that Flint mean to you? Who is that? When did you get that Flint?
Alas, Ben, this was not a childhood Flint. I think my childhood Flint was like Eco Warriors Flint. So yeah, I missed the good one. Maybe that also informs my general like not falling in line with Flint as my key like front man of GI Joe. I mean, Harmer did pen him to be the dick of the piece. Like he's the one putting the brakes on Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is like wanting to mount some kind of rescue mission, and Flint's like, "Oh, they're big boys. They knew what they were getting themselves into." Like, shut up. A little bit of tact, mate.
Yeah, jeez. Now, look,
he definitely deserves what's coming to him in a few issues' time. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but look, we won't be here in a few issues' time because you got no idea what's coming next. The Postman, he's going out of his mind. He's delivering so many comics to me.
It's a Russian roulette of GI Joe comic books. But can you really pick a loser? I don't know. I'm pretty pumped about this issue. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll see. If it's just a quick drop off to like issue 140 or whatever the real dregs of the line were.
Yeah, and also we may be running a little bit. We don't really know how this show is going to settle in and the kind of length. But this is like, it's episode 1. This is a bumper episode. But I just want to read this letter out from Bill Miller. Because this is another great thing about Floppies. Letters pages are so great with comics, and especially like Bronze Age comics. So, dear Joes, I'm writing to you with concern for the future of this comic. If you don't make this comic more realistic, a lot of people will not read it or even buy G.I. Joe toys. Please don't get me wrong. I love this comic. I read every issue, starting with issue 1. You also must have much more action. G.I. Joe is turning into a soap opera. I'll stick by you guys with the hope that you will do something about this horrendous problem. I hope none of this misleads you in any way. I have always loved this comic and always will. Answer, we won't let it mislead us in the least, Bill. Jeez, that wild scenes from Bill there.
It must be more realistic. It's like a soap opera. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, I wonder if Bill's still reading in 2024.
Bill might not even be around.
This is true.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm also thinking that some of these artists must be really old now. Even like Larry Harmer. How old is Larry?
He's my dad's age, so he's 80 this year.
Wow. And I tell you, he's still writing it because I'm collecting it.
Oh, yeah. We're doing the rereads ourselves.
Yeah. Are you collecting floppies of the new Skybound era?
I bought one the other day, but I'm not collecting it as a rule. I'm ditching it. I'm a bit non-committal. And also, like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in this city, in this country. I don't think I can have more physical tat following me around. I'm already heavily invested in the plastic. But I'm making excuses, Ben. Basically, my answer is I'm reading them. I'm keeping up to date, keeping tabs on current events. But as far as having them in my physical possession, nah. I've got the 150. Well, I've got almost all of the 155. I'm kind of happy with that. That's my GI Joe. This new stuff feels like, I'm going to be honest, it's a little bit meandering.
Okay, what about Energon?
I'm interested to see how that shakes out, for sure. But I'm not going to turn into a comic book collector and have, long boxes cluttering up my garage as well as...
Yeah. So, because obviously they're launching a new ongoing, GI Joe book, aren't they? November?
I am most interested in seeing how it diverges from the established canon.
Okay.
Because that's my point of intrigue. Like, how are you going to put a new spin on this that somehow attempts to make things more interesting or better or revised or slicker? Like, they've been given an enormous opportunity to do that. And I'm curious to see what they do with it. I'm already interested to see how relationships have been tweaked, how people have different backstories with one another that never existed in ARR. That's my point of interest more than anything else. I don't really care much for the Transformers entry into the storyline, though perhaps I should care more because they're now linked they cannot be disconnected. Like they're going to occupy the same world together. Like I should give a shit.
Yeah.
How about you,
sure.
Ben? Are you excited about Energon, or are you still pumped about
No,
Era?
do you know what? I the last 3 issues of Era I quite enjoyed. From not getting on that well with it at all to I don't know. I didn't read the month to month. I kind of caught up and did 3 in one go, and that actually helped with the pacing of the book.
Yes,
because it has been pretty meandering. Yeah. A lot of people sort of saying this is going to make the most boring trade ever. Like the first issues of this.
Are
new
they
run.
writing for trades? Are they going to collect this? I mean, just for the sake of,
don't they? I mean, they have to. Yeah, they definitely have a trade come out, I'd imagine. And so, do you know what? After reading Duke and Cobra Commander, I liked those, but I'm actually not that interested in another GI Joe title. I'll definitely get it and see what it's like, but I'm kind of more interested in Larry wrapping up all of the zombie stuff and then seeing what his next arc will be. But there we go. Anyway, dude, I'm so happy and pumped to be doing this show with you, and letting me play in the house of GI Joburg is, I don't know, it seems like a good fit for the show. And when are we dropping this? This is going to be every Thursday.
I think we'll do a weekly Thursday release. I mean, GI Joburg has a podcast out every Monday. Thursday gives it a nice plateau all of its own.
Yeah.
Chasing Joe. Ben, I have one parting shot question for you, mate. Like, we open in this issue with, as mentioned, Flint and Lady J, Scarlet and Snake Eyes, vacationing in a lovely little island called Grenada. Did you ever play with your Joes on vacation? Did you pack some figs and some vehicles and take them
always
family trips?
Always. Big memories of Portugal and like a substantial amount of Tiger Force toys.
Yes. Did you buy them on site?
I had a birthday in Portugal, and I think my mum didn't, she bought all of my birthday presents there.
Sure.
So I had what did I get? A Tiger Fly.
Oh, Tiger Fly.
Yeah.
Way.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
And I got, I just got pretty much all of the Tiger Force figures from that first wave.
Well, if you're picking them up in Portugal, did you get Outback?
Yeah, I got out. No, so I had Outback. I had Psych Out.
Yep.
Roadblock, Duke,
Tripwire.
Yeah. And what was the water moccasin? Was what the Tiger Shark. Cool. Yeah, got the Tiger Shark as well. Oh, great days. Seriously,
what's the water like in Portugal? Like
cold.
Cold, but I mean, do you have some big swell, or is it quite tranquil?
No, dude, I don't think it ever saw the sea. It saw the swimming pool. It saw the swimming pool.
Oh well. That'll do.
So, and my Joes went everywhere. Dude, I mean, honestly, I was big into G.I. Joe figs. I mean, I had so many. I mean, I was into it. It was kind of the only thing I was into, really. So what about yourself?
Well, my favorite memory of all in terms of holidays up the coast has got to be linked to the Cobra Bug, which is a submersible craft from 1988.
Love the Cobra Bug.
Well,
you are
because of that specific
crazy
memory.
on that. Yeah, love that.
Mate, playing with GI Joe toys is one thing. Playing with them in environmental specific environments, I've talked myself into a circle, is something else. Like playing with a snowcat in the snow can't be beat, or Cobra Wolf. Playing 100%. With the Cobra Bug in and out of rock pools, in the surf. I shot a play motion entirely on that premise. I took my childhood bug to the same rock pools that I used to play in as a child on the sort of family vacay spot. and got an opportunity to shoot it. Is the product. It was called Bug Hunt, a little Aliens reference, if you get it. But besides that, it was just a great opportunity to get my classic toy, one of my all-time faves, into the same situation that placed it squarely at the top of the pile. Like, it's entirely fueled by nostalgia. You can't objectively judge these things. Like, you feel an enormous weight of love for the Havoc.
Yeah.
Because that was your childhood, like, main wagon. Well, for me, it was the Cobra Bug.
Yeah, for sure. You're kind of, your play pattern and style all comes from the kind of elements that you're surrounded by. So in the UK, forest-based, you know? Yeah. I was always into, okay, who are the Joes that are in, you know, camo, fatigues, stuff like that. These guys can help me out. But then, you know, on that one day of the year where it would snow, it's like, right, here we go. Let's get everyone snow-based. Let's do this. Or
if you watch GI Joe the movie, you could still use the Havoc.
Oh,
those cats were cruising right through Cobra Law.
Cross Country's putting a tape deck in his Havoc. Is that right?
He's starting Cross Country's Havoc.
Is that Arise, Spencer Arise, or is that GI Joe the movie?
You were quoting Arise, Spencer Arise, and I was quoting GI Joe the movie. Hey, the quotes are strong with this pod. Nice, boy.
For sure.
How do we wrap this thing up anyway? This is our very first episode.
Yeah, it's been, dude, I've had a blast, and this is going to be such a great journey. So, guys, come on this journey with us, because I don't know what I'm opening next week. But all I know is in about 3.5 years, I should have 187 books and have the run done. But it all started with issue 63. But where can the good people of planet Earth find you?
Well, if you're watching this video, hopefully you found your way to the GI Joburg channel. If you're new to the channel, throw us a sub. We do fun stuff like this all the time. Focusing mainly on the plastic, but as my main man Ben is here doing right now, we talk about comics too.
So if you want to find more of me, you can find me at BenFlyingRetro on Instagram, and you can also find me every week on The People Who Play, which is a podcast I do with my wife. If you want to find that, head over to Substack.
Link in the description below.
Yeah. Okay, buddy, I'm going to see you next week.
Yo, Joe.